Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here, and today is Techniques Tuesday. But we're going to chat for a little bit first. I'm going to actually tell you a story. So, I just put this on here so you'd have something to look at instead of just my little grid here. Isn't it coming along pretty? I worked on this on the weekend, but I haven't gotten very far today yet. So, you know, I've been looking at videos on YouTube, and you know, it is our Techniques Tuesday, but I find there comes a point where how many pockets can you make? How many ways can you fold a piece of paper? How many journal flip throughs can we look at before it starts, you know, blending into each other? You know, we flip pockets, we flap them, we do all these things, but it's kind of, you know, it's the same stuff over and over again. And so I'm getting a little bit bored, and I'm finding that I'm not getting enough content that I love, you know, and so I want to take Techniques Tuesday to, you know, other levels where you're learning to make different things like embellishments, things like trims, things like, you know, doing a little bit of slow stitching, but not really. You know, we've all slow stitched something in our lives, and we've all sewn a button on, but, you know, just something different. And so today I'm coming back with an idea that I've done 20 years ago. At least that I think it's time to show this in a video. I've never shown it in a video before. Although you know, some of my earlier followers who still watch, like Jean, may find some of this. She'll remember me making these. And so here is the story. I have these canning jar lids. And I'm a canner, or I used to be. I'm not anymore. You know, when we lived in the country back in Manitoba, we grew everything. I made salsa and canned tomatoes. I think one year my record was 196 jars, 1 liter jars of canned tomatoes alone, you know, canned beets and beans and carrots and spicy pickles, all that kind of stuff. You know, and then there's the jams and the jellies and things. I made a ton of stuff. And so a lot of times I would, you know, give jars of stuff away, like salsa. You know, my nieces and nephews loved salsa, so it was fun to send them some home at, you know, whenever they came over. And I was very particular that my jar lids always looked nice. I always put nice labels on my jars, and, you know, the year and the date of when I made it. And, you know, and then I would decorate them up a little bit. But, you know, that's the you know, the crafting side of me. So anytime I had jar lids that looked like this, I was not happy to see that. You know, I didn't like this kind of rusty look on them, you know, or as soon as I'd see marks on them. I would tend to not use these lids till the very last second. If I was out of lids, then this would be my alternative. But I never liked that there was rust inside. So I would always buy new lids. That was my thing. I'd buy, you know, just tons of them. So one day when canning season was over, I just said, okay, I've got way too many of these lids. And so I'm culling all of the rusty ones. They're all going in the recycle bin, and I'm getting rid of them all. And so I threw them in the recycling, and it was bugging me because I kept thinking, like, how can I reuse this? You know, and I've seen, and I have done ornaments with these, which we'll say for another day, but it just kept bugging me, and I ended up, through the night, you know, which is my best thinking time. I've solved many of my life problems through the night, and I probably could save the world if I would stay in bed long enough. But through the night, I came up with an idea. And so here it was, 5:30 in the morning, and my husband was already up, and he was in the kitchen, which is right you can just see the laundry room where the recycling was. And I got out of bed because I knew I had an exact plan. And, and I came out of the bedroom and I went straight to the recycling. I didn't brush my teeth, didn't comb my hair, didn't do anything. And he could hear me clanging and banging, and he watched me. And because I didn't have enough hands, I don't even know if I can do this anymore. Yeah. I slipped them all onto my arm. I had 2 arms full of these and a big handful of them. And I came out and put them on the kitchen table. And he looked at me and he said, "Okay, have you lost your mind now?" Because he does ask me that often. And I said, I've come up with an idea, but I think I need your help. And I said, I want to turn these into frames. And I said, can you take these outside and just drive over them, a few times with the car and see if we can flatten them? Or if you could give me a mallet or something that I could hammer them flat. I need them to be flat. And he said, well, we could do that. But he said, if you put these under the tire, they could, crack, and maybe you'd blow a tire, if the metal is sharp. And if you use a mallet, it's a lot of work, and they would probably go flying, which is true. They'd probably go flying. So he said, how about a vise? And so with his help, we went into his workshop, and he used a vise, and he flattened a whole bunch of them for me. And so the flattened results ended up looking like this. And I was just thrilled to no end. And so I'm just going to put these aside, and we'll talk about this for a second. And so the vintage frame was born. Get the bingo card out of the way now. So if you take a nice image, now I've printed some images out here that I have. These are all in the member section of Coffee, and there are lots in the free section too that you can use. But if you take a frame like this and you put it over top, doesn't that look amazing? It's absolutely amazing. And so it was like, oh my gosh. And then the rustier and grungier they are, now you'll see me actually doing this one, the better they look. And if you've got, you can also take some paint and rust them up, and, add some alcohol inks to distress them even further if you want. But look how cool. So we're going to make a journal card really quickly using this method. And I'm just going to tell you a few more things. So when you do these, ideally you need to use a vise. So if you don't personally have a vise, then phone a friend, call a neighbor, call your dad, call your brother, the drill on that. And so, and see if you can get them to flatten some of these for you. Now, you want the thinner, newer ones, like that are more modern. They're very lightweight, and, they bend very, very easily. And then they're not left with too thick of a flattened piece. The old galvanized ones are almost impossible to flatten completely. And then these are larger, older ones, and they're wider. They're wider than these ones. They are a little harder to get flattened as well. And I have one here to show you. And I just haven't finished working on this one, but, I just said, well, sometimes we have to give up and use this for another project, which is where ornaments come in. And I'll explain that on another video another day. So I highly recommend that you use the narrower rings, and they come in gold and silver. So they're perfect, and they come in different sizes. And if you visit your yard sales in the summertime, a lot of times you can find boxes of jars and jar lids, because when grandma quits making canning, nobody knows what to do with them. So usually you'll find boxes of them for free. A big free sign on it. And I've gone up to the sellers and said, can I just have the lids if it's free? Like, I just want the lids. And many times they say, go ahead. And so I scoop, and especially these rusty, dirty looking, grungy ones, because they turn out the nicest. So that is what I use. Now, maybe you don't have a vise, or maybe you don't have someone who can help you. You just have to keep looking around. And if you can do these yourself, good for you. It's not that hard, and I will show you in a few seconds. We're going to go into my husband's workshop, and I'm going to use the vise and show you. But if depending on your husband, and depending on you, I don't know, you could maybe bat your eyelashes a little bit, just do the quivering lip thing, and maybe he'll do a few for you. But don't ask him to do a whole 100. Ask him to do 3 or 4. And usually the response, it works. Okay, now it doesn't really work that way for me anymore, because this is later in my life. So batting my eyelashes and quivering a lip doesn't work. It did, but not anymore. But now it's like, well, I'll make you a pie, or I'll make you your favorite supper, and that usually works as long as you don't ask them to do too many. So, that is another option if you don't really want to do them yourself. But if you do want to do them yourself, then stay tuned. Just give me a second to pause the video and restart, and we'll be in my husband's workshop, and I'll show you how easy they are to do. Okay, 1 second. Okay, here I am in my husband's workshop, and this is his big vise that he has here. And I just brought 3 of these with me, but I'm not going to do all 3. I'm just going to do this really rusty looking one. I want to see how this one turns out. So, as I mentioned before, you want to use the, the more modern ones that are thinner tin, only because they'll bend a lot easier. And so I'm just sliding this now. I hope you can see that. Yeah. Okay, so I got to open it up a little bit to get this in here. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing in front of you, but I will do as much as I can. Now, I just put a little bit in at a time. I don't put it all the way down because I want to kind of watch how it's bending. And then I tighten it up, and I just start squishing it. Now, if you're doing this at home, don't put your fingers in there because it'll hurt. So I just start to squish it a little bit, not a lot. And so you can see how it's starting to flatten. And then open it up again and close it again on this side. I just kind of rotate it and do a little bit at a time. And then open it up and turn it around. And you never know how it's going to bend. You never know how it's going to turn out. Oops, I let it go too soon. Wasn't enough grip there. So you just have to keep trying and playing and squishing them out. And the more you squish them flat, the nicer they turn out, actually. Okay, so this one I'm giving a little bit more. It's a good thing to eat your Wheaties and build your strength. This builds muscles as you make it flatter. But then there comes a point where you've got to turn it around a little bit just so you get the next section flatter. And I just keep going round and round as much as I can. Or, like I said, phone a friend, schmooze your husband, whatever it takes. But don't ask for too much. Okay, I'm going to open this up again. I know the lighting isn't great here, but this was just to show you how easy this is to do. And you'll see a much better close-up when we get back into my studio. And I just keep going round and round till I can get it nice and flat. I guess I did make you watch this whole thing, didn't I? So it's coming along nicely. Ooh, look how nice that is with the rust. I was going to save this one for later, but I really like how it's flattening out nice here, so I'm going to keep going. And then once you've got it sort of flattened, I kind of like to look at the sides and see what's sticking out a bit. Like this is still a little bit wide here to me. I'm covered in rust now. And same with here. So I'm going to just squish it down a little bit more to get these a little bit flatter. And now it gets easier. It really does. Because I think what happens is you must kind of soften up the metal a little bit, because it does get easier to do once it's basically flat. And I'm thinking that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera and go back to my studio so you can get a closer look at it. Okay, we're back in my studio, rusty hands and all. So yes, you watched me flatten this one, although you did see it beforehand because I pre-recorded the workshop, Tom's workshop, where I was doing this. So this was actually already done by the time you saw it. But I have 4 really nice ones here. And you can see it doesn't take much. I'm a little winded because I don't do it often, and I had just had lunch, and so you know what it's like when you don't feel like doing something like that, you know, when you're full. But you can see how beautiful these turned out. Now this one's still a little bit thick, but I would use it anyway. And maybe you don't want to use this on a journal card or on a tag if you're trying to keep it the bulk down in your journals. But it still makes a beautiful topper on your journal if you wanted to use it as a topper, and you can have some fun decorating some really cool pieces by using these. So let's just get started with one. I'm going to take this one because it almost looks like a brass frame, doesn't it? I just love how these turn out. So I'm just going to move that over, and I'm using my glue gun today, but normally I would use a much stronger glue. So we're going to do this start to finish. Now, you know, when I'm doing this, I like to recycle my glue papers, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Whenever I've glued it up on all sides, I right away put them aside, and I use them for bases for making my journal cards. So I've got just a piece of, this is I think from a newspaper, I'm not sure. And I'm just going to put some glue on here. I don't care what's on it. I don't think there's anything that's bad on here. In fact, I think this is recipes, or they're talking about fruitcake or something. All right, so I'm just going to rest that into the center there. Jean was making fun of my glue caps because they roll all over my desk, and she said, "Was that a spider that just crossed your desk?" And I had to go look at the video to see. Okay, so I'm just folding up the edges here. I'm not going to go into full journaling card how I do this, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm just folding up these edges, and that's just so that they give me a nice crisp edge. And I'm just cutting these on a slant. Sometimes I cut them, sometimes I glue them first and then cut them. But this is just to show you how easy it is to use these in your art. These canning jar lids. Okay, so taking my glue stick, I'm just going to run some glue on here and fold that up. Now, I was talking about this with a couple of other people who, you know, do videos and stuff, and we do a lot of prep work ahead of time, and people don't realize that you know, it's not that I always can work on the fly like this, because I like to think about things of what I'm going to show you, and so sometimes it comes across like it's really easy, but I've actually planned it, you know, and I've planned my images that I'm going to use, lots of things like that. So it's not always just on the seat of my pants that I'm going down down the roller coaster. Okay, now I have misplaced my gold ruler. I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to fold that. It is somewhere in my pile of stuff, I'm sure. And then I'm just going to run the glue. Now, I always stitch on these at the end of the day anyway. You don't have to if you're doing a really good gluing on your creations, but I do go back and stitch them after the camera's off. And then taking my bone folder. I really shouldn't say that. My glue cap, because somebody who's coming along that's a newbie will say, "What the heck is the bone folder? I thought it was a flat piece." Okay, so I have a basic journal card to work with. So now I kind of like this image. This is the one that stuck out the most to me. Now I don't know if I think I'll go the sort of the long way, only because there's so much going on in this picture. I hope you can see that, what I'm doing. So I will just quickly trace around here along the outside. Nothing perfect. It doesn't have to match the frame. I'm just tracing around so I know where to cut the picture. And then, oh, I'll cut it over here, I think. Let's cut it out of the... And then I will just follow the line, but I go kind of a little bit on the inside of the line because you don't want it showing underneath your frame. And there's no guarantee that I'm going to line it up exactly with how the frame, or the right frame in my case, because I just threw it down there, perfectly for my metal piece. But I just do it inside the line so I know it's smaller. And I don't throw this away. I might use that bottom piece there. And I'm going to rest it on my journaling card and see how that lines up. That's pretty good. That's pretty good right there like that. So now I'll just pick this up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just make myself kind of a little bit of a mark with my pen or pencil, whatever you have. And then taking my glue, actually I'm just going to use glue stick because I'm going to stitch it anyway. Well, I won't be able to stitch it, but it'll be secured. And I just kind of line it up to those ink marks as best as I can. Now this is very thin photo paper. I think it's called Koala brand. So I'm not endorsed by it. I just bought it and I like it. It's very, very thin. It's like a paper. It's just a little bit bigger than a paper. And so I've got this glued down now, and I want to glue my frame down. Now, if I were not on camera and I wanted to do this where I know it's secure on there, I would probably use something like Goop or E6000 or something that will adhere to metal. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use my hot glue. It's pretty good. And now when you're using hot glue and metal, you do have to be careful because it gets very hot very quickly. And you can feel it coming through the piece of metal as you're holding it. It's like hot potato. Okay, and I think it went this way, and so I'm just going to glue that down. Oop, I've glued it a little bit off. Okay, so I have a bit here. Let's see if I can lift it. Yes, I can. But now I've taken some of the paper with it. What to do and what not to do, right? Okay, put some more glue. It's hard when you're not standing right over it and when it's hot. Okay, so a little bit closer to that edge. There we go. No one would ever know as long as you don't tell. What does Mama Juju say? Take it to the grave. So with hot glue, you also don't have as much time to work as you do with something that is a wet glue. Now I have a little thread of glue across here, but I can peel that off after. So you can see how quickly and easy that is to adhere. Oh, doesn't that look sharp? So a little bit of ink. I'm just going to ink up the edges here. And again, I would probably sew around here, but I'm not going to stop the camera to sew it for now. So let's see what I've got on my desk. I've got a piece of fabric here that I'm just going to fray the edges. Oh, I had some really nice tea stained fabric that I left on the other side. I think I'll put that down there. And I've got some lace here. And I've got some, this was the hem I cut off of something, and it wasn't worth trying to save this little piece of material. So now this is on the fly, if you can believe that. This is on the fly. So I'm just going to take that and rest it down there. I don't like the whole thing, so I'm just going to maybe put another small piece here, nothing too much. What else is on the table? Oh, I've got another piece of lace here. I think this is the same lace. I will stick that under there. Now all of this I will glue down with a glue stick or a little bit of my white glue, with the idea that I will go back and stitch all of this down after. But it's not about, today is not about me actually doing the journal card. It's about showing you the possibilities. So now I had made these little roses. I think there's 3 of them on the table if I can find them. Yes, there are, which is another thing we could get into in another day. These weren't perfect, but they look pretty good on there so far. And I'm sure there are a few other things like a label. I've got another piece of lace trim here. So you can see in no time at all, with a little bit of scraps on my table, how I'm building this up. Now, if you were to use it as a journal topper, you may want to put a few layers underneath. It's kind of flimsy, so you may want to use like a cardstock underneath it, and then maybe build it up with some fabric and lace and that type of thing. But for what I'm doing for the sake of this video, that's not what it's about. Oh, I have a little piece of this rose color. So you see, that's just a little piece of nothing, right? But it just brings enough little pop in here. And I'm just going to take another piece of this. I don't want very much, and not as wide, I don't think. And I'm going to tuck that under there because I really don't want much to show. It's just to build on this frame. And there's another piece of lace here, although I don't think I need it, but I'll add it on top of there. And Thelma's roses that I'm hoarding. Yes, Laura, I'm hoarding these, my precious. So I'm going to add one right there just to bring out the lace, and another one down at the bottom here to help it all blend in together. So I can go back and add some buttons. a label, you know, some paper flowers if I wanted, but this is coming along just nicely. I will show you the finished product when on Friday when I do a follow-up of sorts, but it's that easy. It's super, super easy. So I hope this was fun for you. I hope you enjoyed this idea, and I hope you will go and make some of these lovely frames. They're super easy to do, and it's just an idea to bring out a little bit more of something different. And I hope you can understand that this, you know, I want to do things that you haven't seen before. I want to do things that would be to repurpose and that you might find interesting. Sorry, I got distracted by that little piece of pink lace. And again, it's just a way to repurpose some fun items and have some fun doing with it. And you saw how quickly this was. Yeah, I planned the picture. I knew I was going to do the frames. I know how to do a journaling card quickly. This is all random based on what I have on my desk. I don't give too much thought to this stuff because I just build as based on what I see. So that's it for today's video. That's your technique for this week. Try to find a vise and make some of these, and you know, or phone a friend if you don't. If you maybe you know a canner that you can get some canning jar lids from. If not, you can probably find them. And these will also rust very nicely if you throw them in some. There is a recipe for rusting metal that you can follow. I'm not going to go into it. That's something you can do as well. So that's it for my Techniques Tuesday. Let me know in the comments below if this is the kind of stuff you want to see and that you like, because I have lots of ideas. It's not that same old, and I don't want to be in that rut. I don't like being in that rut, and it's just how many pieces of paper can we fold, right? So let me know in the comments below if this is the kind of stuff you like, and then I will start adding more and more of this. Oh, I want to add a little round label there, I think. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. And so today is Tuesday. Tomorrow I have Happy Mail. Woohoo! I've got some Happy Mail to open up and to share with you. And then Thursday will be hopefully my Thrifty Canucks video. And then Friday will be a follow-up. And then from Friday, we'll take it on from there. On Friday, I'm hoping to have a really cute little freebie done and ready for you so that you can make your own bingo cards because they're so cute, right? So I'm going to hopefully have that done for Friday, as well as a few other little digis that I have on the back burner to get done. And then I've had such good response to last Saturday's arm's length art that I'm going to try and do it again. I have been looking into doing lives. I don't know if I'll do it for this Saturday, but I may play a little bit next week and see if I can get a live going and how I would do it in a Facebook YouTube setting. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But as soon as I figure it out, I will certainly share it with you, and then we can do some live and maybe interact a little bit. But I don't want to do 9 hours of interaction. That's too hard on me. But you know, maybe little tidbits similar to what we did. And then I did the video as we went along. So we'll see how that works. But I do want to do the arm's length art again. As you know, my trays are overflowing, and that's not all I have. And I'm actually admitting it online, Hazel. I'm actually admitting it. That's not all I have for scraps. So I really would like to see some of that get reduced and do some fun projects with you. So that's it. That's all. Have yourself a very creative week, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.